It can be hard to tell when we're dating someone whether they're taking us seriously. And the main thing for women nowadays isn't actually getting the guy, but it's keeping the guy. Getting the guy to commit. Many women find it easy to get dates with a guy, easy to get sex with a guy, but it's getting the commitment that's the hardest thing. And the biggest obstacle for most women is knowing when a guy is actually taking you seriously and knowing when he's just wasting your time. So we're going to go through a handful of signs that a guy is just wasting your time. The first one is that he never takes you on a date anymore. Now, it can be hard to spot because it's easy to recognize, okay, you match on a dating app and he just invites you to come over. That's pretty obvious to look out for. It's pretty easy to see what he only wants with you. What if you've gone a few dates in the beginning, but then it started to peter off in terms of spending time outside of the home? Generally speaking, when a guy is just using a woman just for sex and he's seeing her as a sexual option, what he will do is he will go on dates with her and take her out up until the point that you start having sex and you're being regularly intimate. Every day now becomes a Netflix and chill day. This is when spending time with him outside of the home just seems damn near impossible, where you spend time where sex isn't going to happen and the time you spend together is actually purely focused on getting to know each other, not where you're just watching a film and then you're going to be physical and spend the night. That is a key sign that he is just wasting your time. That is a key sign that he is just in it for the physical play that he can get from you. The next sign that a guy is wasting your time is that he responds very irregularly. Sometimes he will respond within 5 minutes to your text, other times he won't respond for a few days. Now, a lot of the time, texting sometimes for guys can be quite irregular depending on the guy. Some guys love texting all the time, some guys really aren't texters. Now, I'll be honest, I definitely fall into the latter category of not being a texter. But then that means if a guy is taking a woman seriously, he'd be open to having a phone call with her. Maybe they send voice notes for a day, catching up on things. Or maybe he generally uses messages and texts to arrange when they're gonna next go on a quote-unquote proper date. If you're getting a bit of a hot and cold from a guy where there are times where he is messaging you very frequently and he's on it, and then suddenly it seems like you're halfway through a conversation and then you just don't hear from him for a few days, that's a very key sign that he is not actually taking consideration of how that might be coming across, because he's not taking it serious. When guys are seriously investing in a woman, a lot of the time he is thinking and being considerate of, how does this come across to her? Does this make me come across like I care or like I don't care? Guys tend to be quite conscious with that. If his texting is irregular and nonsensical and doesn't make sense, that means he's not thinking about how it comes across because he doesn't have high stakes in what you both have. And the key indicator that you can tell here is if you start sexting him, when the messages are something of a sexual nature, his response is always pretty quick, pretty responsive. But any time that it's not of a sexual nature, it's very, very slow in response. That's a pretty obvious sign that he's just in it for sexual play. Staying on texting, the next sign that a guy might just be wasting your time is that he never texts you first. Or if he does text you, he's only texting you for when you can next have fun together. When a man isn't taking a woman seriously, that's going to reflect in how often he thinks about her, and thus how often he reaches out to her. When guys are in it for a relationship, he understands that there are likely other men going to be pursuing you. There may be other men on the scene who may be trying to talk to you. And so it's in his own interest to maintain a level of frequency and consistent communication, because that's what helps you build closeness with him rather than some other guy. But if he's not taking it seriously, if he's nonchalant about another guy giving you emotional time and you giving him emotional time, that doesn't concern him. It only starts to concern him when he thinks he's losing you as a sexual option to him. At this point, you'll really feel him turn up the heat, and he'll be giving you all the attention, giving you all the time, making an initial response when he starts to feel you pull away from him. But if he's only doing that when you pull away from him, instead of actually having a level of consistency, that's another key sign this guy is just wasting your time. The next sign that a guy could be wasting your time is he is never your plus one. He doesn't come to any of your events or parties. And it's not that you're not offering, but he's just never accepted. The reason that a guy doesn't do this is for two reasons. The first reason is he doesn't make it a priority because he doesn't see himself integrating into your life long term. He doesn't really have a level of care to get to know your friends, get to know your family, get to know the people in your circles. because to him, it's like, well, I'm not going to be here long term to integrate into those circles, so why bother? So he's not going to make it a priority of his to do that. He's not going to go out of his way to be your +1 to an event. Now, a few guys may do this every now and then. Sometimes a guy can do that if he starts to think you're starting to catch on that this is just a sexual thing for him. But more often than not, it won't be a priority to him in making time to go to those events with you. Which brings us on to the next sign, which is the alternative that you were never his +1. He never invites you to be a +1. You never come to any of his parties or events for exactly the same reason, because he doesn't see it long term. He doesn't want to try and make it a priority and an effort to integrate you into his life and into his circles. There's also another reason, is because if there are people who know him to be dating someone else, it doesn't make sense for him to bring another woman because they might start asking questions. This could be a key sign where maybe, and this isn't nice to say, but maybe you could be the quote-unquote side chick to his main chick. Now, a lot of the times, even when a guy may be dating multiple women at the same time, if there is a main girl, that is a girl that he is taking to his events, that he is introducing to his friends. That is a girl that he does choose to be seen publicly with. Any girl that he isn't taking seriously, any girl that may be a quote-unquote side piece to his main girl, that is the girl that he does keep behind closed doors. That is the girl that he limits how often they go in public together. And if they are in public, it tends to be in environments and spaces where not many people are around. So instead of going to an event together or a major social party together, you just meet at a coffee shop by his house. Instead of going to dinner together, you just go for a drive and grab some food. He tries to limit how many people see you both in public. This also has to do with covering his own ass, because the last thing he wants is for someone who knows the main girl that he's with to see you both together, especially if she doesn't know about it. So if you want to know how to avoid this guy and attract the right kind of guy for you, then enroll in my Claim Your Man program below, where I show you how to do just that. Thanks for tuning in, and as always, keep it slick.